Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of OfferVault TV's Earnings Per Call Show. I'm your host, Bill Somerville, and founder of the insurance pay-per-call network, PolicyBind. Today we're going to be chatting with pay-per-call marketing pro Clayton White of RingFUZE. How you doing today, Clayton?
I'm doing good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thank you for asking. So I want to get right into it, man. Tell us about your experience in the pay-per-call industry. When did you start?
Started back in 2015. Was when I was first introduced to pay-per-call through running my own health insurance call center. So we had 32 agents. We were buying tons of calls. And when you're spending that kind of money per week, $20,000, $30,000 a week, you kind of figure, maybe it's time to learn this myself. And so that's kind of was the start of my journey in the pay-per-call marketing realm.
Maybe a little. Maybe a little. Someone's getting rich off this, right?
Yeah. Yep. Trying to
That's
turn the
perfect.
table.
So you started in health insurance. How did it progress, man? So you're at this point you're an advertiser, right? So you're purchasing the calls. When you start to get the bright idea of, hey, I'm going to tinker around some stuff and I'm going to see if I can drive my own calls.
So started with the call center in 2015. By 2016, I was already running paid media, doing tests with Google and Bing and other display networks, things like that. And so yeah, about 2016 is really when I started diving in. Had a little bit of disposable income to play with from the call center, so I figured now was a great time to actually see if I can save some of that money that I was sending to all these other networks.
That's perfect, man. And as we usually do when we're testing, when we're learning, I know personally I've had a lot of shit stories where I've made some really bad mistakes. My first mistake, I'll tell you right now, was running Facebook campaigns where I didn't put any type of cap on my campaigns. Right, so these things are just running and running and running and running. Do you have any type of example like that? Just some, you got a little bit of egg on your face when you were first starting out. I won't call it your biggest failure, but just something laughable that you did when you first started out.
Yeah, so I started running things myself, right? So I learned everything myself, and trying to run that and run my call center got a little overwhelming. And so what I did is I outsourced to a marketing agency to run and manage my campaigns for me. So, it was the general, like, I think it was 10% of my ad spend or whatever. And they didn't set a cap for the marketing budget. So I told them I just want as many leads as you can get me. And so the contract was 6 months. So I spent 6 months working with this company. And I ended up losing probably about $20,000 when it was all said and done, from them running the campaigns the way that they thought it should be ran versus the way that it was working for me in the beginning. But I didn't know any better. I thought they were the experts, so they were going to go in there and do it. But because I knew the industry so well, if I would have maintained the ads myself, I probably wouldn't have lost that money. So that was probably my biggest fail going into it. And then I did have a little hiccup with learning Facebook, running the you can do a call only ad or a call ad in Facebook, and you can do lead ads in Facebook. And so what I quickly found was those call ads in Facebook really didn't convert the way they should, versus running a lead ad and then converting that lead into a call, which converts way better, and the CPA on that is a lot better for the end user as well.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong too, but I mean, look, one of the most powerful things about, the Facebook engine is utilizing the pixel, for a particular event. I was told that one of the downfalls of the pay-per-call side on Facebook is that the pixel is firing when they click the initial button, which doesn't force a phone call just yet. There's another button that needs to be clicked. So they could be consumers that are clicking call now. The pop-up is occurring to confirm that they want to dial. The pixel is registering that event as like, this is good. This is what we want more of. And then the consumer is saying, oh, shit, I don't want to make a dial. Let me get out of this. Uh,
Yeah. So with that, so we're talking like conversions right there. So
mhm.
excuse me. So Facebook is really new to the pay per call game, and so they haven't figured that part out yet to be able to tell the system that when they click cancel, that is not considered conversion. So Facebook actually considers that a conversion when they click that first button, even if they click cancel and they don't want to call. So now Facebook's targeting those similar people based on the interest that they've shown. So that's going to drive their algorithm in that direction. Where Google's a little bit different. They're a little more seasoned in the pay per call space. They're actually really jumping on board with it. So their algorithm in that section, in that type of marketing, is a lot stronger than Facebook. And so as of right now, we've been finding that Google or Facebook lead ads are a lot more. You get a lot more bang for your buck,
Mhm.
and you get the data. And it's easy for people on Facebook to do those lead forms because it's filled out for them, and they just got to
It
keep clicking the button.
autofills. Yeah,
And then at the end of that lead form, you put a click to call button. So if you can generate calls that way as well. So you capture the lead and you get a chance to do a click to call. So the lead ads, I think, are by far the best way to go when it's coming to Facebook. That's
that's
my
perfect.
personal opinion and based on the data that I've experienced myself.
That's good advice, man. And let me flip the coin now. So I asked you, your biggest fail. Tell me about your first biggest win that you've ever had in pay per call. You start generating the calls yourself, and you get this crazy idea, like, oh my goodness, this just might work. Do you remember that day?
Yeah, so it all kind of like the old saying, when one door shuts, another one opens, right?
Sure.
So the partner that I had in the call center wanted to move out of town. And so what we ended up doing was closing the call center. And because of that, then I was like, okay, what are my options? I can run another call center, or I can continue to do pay per call marketing, since I know that's a big industry. It's really hot. It's picking up. And so that's kind of when I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into pay per call. And so I officially started the business and went full speed into that. Um, was that the question? Did I totally bypass that question?
No, you did. You did a great job. You did a great job.
All right.
So yeah, when I mean, that's usually what's going to happen, right? It's like when one door closes, now you're kind of
Yeah.
forced off the boat from this and moving on to the other. So yours wasn't necessarily like a white light moment. It was more of like, yo, we need to do this now.
Yeah.
Like this opportunity is over. Another one has to go. It's kind of a, I guess, like burn the ships kind of moment, right? Like there's no
Yeah.
retreat from this
And then
point.
it was really easy for me because I was already generating U65 calls. And
Mhm.
so it was just an easy transition. And when I started connecting with the different buyers that I knew, that I had relationships with, and connecting with new buyers, um, I enter this whole realm of brokering, and I enter this whole realm of, or aggregation, on top of me selling or me generating the leads myself. And so that really like opened it up, and it was like, okay, now we're shifting gears. Now we're expanding this business. I'm able to generate more income because I'm able to sell more calls. And so that's really where I would say, lit the fire to continue and push forward with everything that I was doing in pay per call.
That's perfect, man. So that's awesome. So you learned a little on your own. You started to make a network of, trusted media partners that are helping you, drive traffic. Are you just doing it in the U65 space at this point, or are you playing around with
Yeah,
any other
no,
verticals?
it was all U65. I
Wow,
didn't
good,
get
good,
into,
good for you, man.
yeah,
Just
focus, right?
wanted to make life real hard for yourself. Like, I just do the hardest one.
Yeah. I know when I talk to people, and I'm first to suggest U65, but then right after that I say, well, you probably don't want to start with U65. It's one of the most cutthroat pay per call verticals, I think, because it's just the abundance is there, the need is there, and so I don't see it going anywhere any away anytime soon. So
Yeah,
that's really what's driving it.
yeah.
But it is an expensive vertical to get into.
It is pricey. Advertisers watching this.
Yeah,
If you want the right stuff, you want the
yeah. If you
wrong
want the right
stuff.
stuff.
There's plenty of that for super cheap.
Yep.
So, another question I have for you, right? So, this is one that I love. If you had to start back at square one of your pay per call career, but with all the knowledge that you had right now, tell me a little bit about what your first move would be. What would you do?
My first move would be to start developing software to provide and complement um, all the technology and the needs that are out there in the pay per call space. I'm currently doing that now,
Okay.
but if I would have known what I know now, I would have definitely started that project a lot sooner, and then I would have still got into pay per call. I don't know necessarily if I would have went with the U65, but if I was just starting out, I probably would have started off with maybe home services or something like that that can be more localized, because I'm really liking the more localized approach to marketing. There's the nationwide sweeping campaigns that you can do, but when you're really working, or if you're wanting to build your network of people or buyers, um, working with local businesses is really, I get like satisfaction out of it, I guess.
Sure.
Working with the big call centers, yeah, satisfaction in the way of commas in your paycheck, but as far as that like personal gratification, working with local businesses and helping those smaller, one or two person agencies grow into 3 to 4 people agencies and upwards, that really is kind of satisfying on my side. And so that would probably be the approach that I would take. I would start more localized and then kind of later on get into the call centers and working with those guys.
Perfect, man. You answered my next question. I was going to say, if you had to give someone a little bit of advice entering our space, the insurance lead generation, what would you tell them? You'd say stick local.
I would say if you're starting off with a small budget and you're going from 0 to 100, then yeah, you want to start local. Unless you are taking like the brokering route, then
Mhm.
I guess you would probably want to focus more on the call centers. But then you got to find the publishers to back up that need. And so now
Oh,
you're
yeah.
square one, right? Vicious
Now you're
cycle.
right back.
Yeah. So I always suggest learning how to become a publisher yourself before getting into any kind of like brokering or aggregating of deals, just so you know what to look for, how to talk about the campaign. And then also you really want to dive deep into the industry that you're serving and really learn about it, and know what schools they go to, know what terminology they use, things like that, so you can communicate with your buyer. And then you can also communicate with a publisher if you're brokering leads, because you have the knowledge of generating leads for this vertical as well.
Man, you're literally, you couldn't be making this any easier for me. My next question is, when it comes to learning the trade, any resources, influencers, etc., that you would recommend our listeners to look out for? And I guess this would be more on the publisher side of the game. Someone that's coming into the space now. I know that our industry moves so quickly and information becomes obsolete so quickly. Like, what do you? We talked a little bit before the show, but for pay per call stuff, like what's in uh, your bookmark file? Like, what do you have? Where do you go? Are there forums or groups, or are you on StackThatMoney.com, or any of those great resources that are out there for affiliates and pay per call guys?
Yeah. So on the affiliate or publisher side, I definitely have a lot of forums that are Facebook groups that I'm part of, all the different pay per call groups. Another one that I told you about earlier before the show was Rank and Rent. That's a really good system to follow, to understand, to learn. That's the SEO side of ranking websites and generating phone calls and leads that way. So I've been doing a lot more research on the SEO side of things. Is I do a lot, mostly is paid ads. So media is how I drive traffic. Um, but there's also that whole SEO side of things that you got to really worry about. So on my bookmark, I've got like Neil Patel is obviously for my SEO stuff. Um, I've got the Ringba blog bookmarked because there's tons of resources in there. There's other um, Carlos Corona, he's somebody that I work with closely.
We
He
had
does,
him on the show. He was our
yeah.
first guest.
So he does a lot of good stuff, giving a lot of free training.
Yeah,
You can bookmark myself. I give away a lot of free training. I
yeah, you do.
offer courses and things like that as
What's the
well.
name of your group, man?
Paper Call Academy.
That's right.
Try to make it a little easy.
There
So,
you go.
but yeah, so just anything really. I mean, the rank and rent thing is really what I'm focusing on now. But like the resources that are out there, there's not many courses on pay per call. There's the courses I have. There's the courses Carlos has. Gene from Paulo has a course.
Great course.
And that's pretty much the only pay per call courses that I am aware of. There might be some more out there, but not that have hit my radar yet.
Okay. Cool, man. Talk to me about what you're most excited about now. You brought up in our conversation before we went live, RingFUZE, and you were so fired up about it. You know, I'm going to take a stab in the dark. I'm going to say that's probably what you're most excited about right now. Maybe not, but I'll throw that question at you. What's got you stoked right now, man?
Yeah, so RingFUZE is like a agency management system. So when I was running or when I first started running pay per call, I was always sending like invoices and stuff to the buyers and things like that. And so I needed a more managed solution. So I don't know if anybody's ever bought leads or seen any of those other platforms like Datalot, NextGen Leads. They have these nice little buyer portals you can go into and fund your accounts and things like that. And so with RingFUZE, I was like, well, I think it should be even playing field across the board. And I want to bring this to all the different publishers that are out there, that maybe even networks that, you know, might not have their own technology stack to support that type of software. So I started building RingFUZE, and that's kind of what my passion is right now, is really bringing the technology. And what I'm doing is I'm marrying the technology and I'm marrying the training and resources that I have accumulated on Paper Call Academy, and soon more to come as well. And I'm going to integrate the two together. So for those who do sign up for like a RingFUZE account as an agency or a publisher, then you're going to get access to all the training. And so that's really what I'm doing. I'm overvaluing, what's the word I'm looking for?
Under promising, over deliver.
Over delivering. That's the one. So yeah, so I'm trying to over deliver as much as possible, because pay per call has been so good to me that I want to give back, and I've been trying to give back through the training, and now I'm trying to give back through the technology as well. So I'm really focused on that technology side of things.
That's awesome, man. And I'll say personally, I've been privy to some of your trainings and your live calls, and I would say, don't stop the education. It's fantastic. I always get a lot out of it. I have friends that are in the group as well that, just say that it's extremely valuable. And I've always felt that, guys that take the time to educate the industry, like guys like you and Carlos, Adam, the guys over at Apollo Media, it always comes back, right? It comes back 5, 10, 15 fold. I know I always personally remember that, and it kind of opens me up a little bit more where, I want to touch base with you and be like, look at these ads I'm working on, look at this software I'm working on, look at this, look at that. And then we work together, to create a healthier network for, all these publishers that are putting all this time and driving these campaigns so that we can deliver the best possible product to these advertisers that are out there. So,
yeah, I think that's like really the key. I think that's really what the industry has been lacking. You look at the affiliate marketing side of the business, and there's tons of resources, tons of courses, tons of software. And then you come over here to the pay-per-call side, and there's just as much opportunity, if not more, open up right now. But the training's not there. The technology's not there. The technology is getting better with, platforms like Ringba and TrackDrive. But again, that's just a handful of technologies. You obviously got Invoca, but someone just starting out can't spend the Invoca type of money to have that type of software. So I think through through teaching like I'm doing with Paper Call Academy. And I'm not one to close off and only teach my stuff or only offer my stuff in the training. I talk about other people that are, in the industry training as well. I recommend groups. I recommend other trainings. So it's really more of like a community group that I'm trying to build to educate and bring more quality publishers to the space, because I think that's really what we're lacking right now. There's plenty of opportunity. I mean, the U65 space is huge in itself. But then you've got credit repair, you've got tax settlement, mortgage, pick an industry, and a client needs calls or people on the phone that are interested in their products. And so that's really where Paper Call is shining right now, especially during this epidemic that we're going through. Businesses, people can't go into businesses, they need phone calls. So why not be the guy that can supply those phone calls to those businesses?
That's a really good way of looking at it.
Guy or girl. Sorry.
Yeah. Non-binary people.
Non-binary, yeah. Person. Right.
So, question, Clayton. How do people get a hold of you? You mentioned your group. If you want to shout that out again, email, phone number, Skype, lay it on out. But be careful when you do. There's 10 people that watch this show. They're all going to call you again and again and again from 50,000 different spoof phone numbers. So,
all right, perfect. Yeah, so you can find the group. It's free to join. It's Paper Call Academy. I believe it's facebook.com/Paper Call Academy group. So if you type that in, or if you just search Paper Call Academy, you'll see it. We're the ones with like the little purple and people in space. And then you can also, I don't have a Twitter, but I do. I never got into it.
Can you drive calls off Twitter?
I don't. No, I don't use Twitter at all.
Is that possible to drive calls from Twitter? Does anybody know that?
I don't know. I know you can do it with Snapchat. I know
Snapchat, yeah. And I don't have Snapchat. I got to get back to that.
Yeah.
Twitter, I don't know if you drive phone calls from. I'm sure people will comment on this when we do what you said. But if
I'd like to know, because if it's something, I'll dive into it. If it's driving traffic, I will dive into it, and then I'll put a training out for free for everybody to see. But yeah, so find me on the group. If you got Skype, I'm on Skype. It's Clayton.85. And then it's pretty much the best ways. Or you can email me, Clayton@RingFUZE.com. So.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for popping on the show, sharing some knowledge and some good vibes. Thanks, OfferVault TV, for publishing the show. And thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
See ya.